And now, I'd like to welcome our first presenter, Hedrick, President of Ameritech Data Solutions. Dhedrick, please kick us off.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. So what I want to talk about today is our product TabOps that is going to give you that option to be able to take and actually do those commissioning reports, as well as to be able to take and include those tab reports inside of there. So a lot of commissioning agents are also going to be tab guys, so you have the option to be able to do both in our system. So I'm going to share my screen. And this right here is the actual screen. So, and when you load TabOps, basically you have the option to be able to create a new project. And so your project number and project name are the actual two pieces that are required to have whenever you're creating a project. That's really the only thing that is unique about it. So you do have the ability to take and actually put in a unique number. So 24091002, and then a project name. And then you do have the ability to take and put other things in here as well. So if you wanted to make it unique or something, you could take and do that as well by providing a suffix for it. So you could say this is phase 1, this is building A, building B, whatever. You also have the ability to be able to take and actually choose a division. So in this case here, you could have a CX side and a tab side, or you could have a tab side that also includes CX, et cetera, et cetera. So you can choose the division that you want to take and have available to you to be able to do this. And then you also have the ability to take and choose the actual responsible parties for items inside of here. So if you have a mechanical contractor that you like to use, you can do that. You can also take and bring up the contacts for that customer, and then you can take and choose responsible parties out of that as well, and then save that as part of the actual project information screen. So now then that I have those items set, when I save this, it's going to create that actual project container. Now that I have a project container, I can then add sheets to it. Specifically from a commissioning standpoint, we have developed a variety of different things, but one of them is we have created a commissioning sheet. What this is really, it's kind of a placeholder in reporting that will allow you to be able to take and give you those basically pre-functional test questions, et cetera, et cetera. So what our system allows you to do is you can take and create question sets based on the equipment that's inside of your system. So as you do, you go up here, you click on a collection. So HVAC, life safety, plumbing, fire protection, etc. You come in here and then you choose the actual question set that you want to take and have included in there. Now, from a generic standpoint, if I come back here, you'll notice that there's a little arrow here that will take and expand that information on that list. So in this case here, in the HVAC category, under fan ceiling, you got an ECM controller, and then these are collections that are available underneath that. So installation, that's a collection of questions, and then you'll see their individual questions are identified inside of there. And so you have the ability to take and either expand all the CAT questions, or you can collapse all the questions if you wanted to do so. So you would go through and you would create whatever sets of questions. So if this were an HVAC unit, and you come in here and you do air handling and you do steam coil unit on there, you can go back and forth and you can add components of the actual items that you want to take and commission. Now, once you're done with that, you do have the ability to move things around. So let's say, for example, you wanted to ask these questions first. You can move a set up or down in a collection. Once you're in a collection, you can move categories up and down. So you have the ability to take and arrange and organize how you want to take and actually collect that information as well. In addition to all of that, you do have the ability to take and actually come in, and when you're looking at a collection, so let's say, for example, I'm here under this general mechanical. Let's say there's 4 questions or 5 questions under something. So for these right here, under installation, if I know the questions that are in there, and because of the fact that you're commissioning agents and you probably are using standard question sets all the time, if you go through and you check these items here and you know that the actual response to those is all going to be pass or fail or yes or no or whatever, you can take and do that from the whole collection. So basically, if I were to take and respond to this one, then it would provide an actual response for the whole selection. In addition to that, there are going to be some times when you go to a job and you have a standard set of questions that you typically ask, but there are one or two of them that are in particular not appropriate or do not apply in this case. Instead of having them as a part of a question set, you do have the ability to take and toggle the visibility on them. So what this would do is this would take and gray that line item out so that when you presented this information to your technicians in the field to collect the information, that this question would not be posed. So you do have the ability to turn your visibility on and off for individual questions if you want to. You can also take and add ad hoc questions as necessary as well. So again, from this particular sheet here, this would be either assigned to an air handling unit or to a subsystem, or however you want to take and actually collect the information. So the difference is in our solution, we give you a lot of control as to how you collect information. So as you can see here in this case, we've taken and put in a couple of answers. Now, let's talk about the sets in general. So again, I went to add sets and I have these categories in here and I can choose to take and actually put in a set here. But what are sets and how are they managed? Under your settings section up here at the top of the page, you have the ability to come to settings and you have the ability to go into edit commissioning. What that's going to do is it's going to allow you to control these questions and answers. So these are collections or groups of collections. So you have a group, which is the HVAC, it's the parent item at the top. And then you have the ability to take and put in collections or sets underneath that. And then you can take and come in and you can pull in questions even beyond that. So each one of these is a tier depending on how you want to organize it. So you can take and say, I want these to all be parents. I want these to be parents and child. I want this to be a question like, okay, it's an HVAC. It's got one of these devices. It may have this, that, or the other. And then each one of those collections have questions, et cetera, et cetera. So as you boil down to this or whatever, so each one of these items here has the ability to take and actually give it a group name. You can archive it if it no longer applies. You also have the ability, like I've chosen this ECM controller here. This is a collection group and it is a sub-child group. So this would allow you to see all the other parents that have one of these in there. So you can take and automatically add a collection to another grouping by just simply taking and saying add, and you want to add it to another group. So when you're building these, we try to make it as easy as possible. Obviously over here on the far right hand side, you're able to actually see what the actual preview is going to look like. So you can take and see how it all works out. Questions. So this right here says it's an installation, it's ECM location. Properties are who is the responsible party for this. And so you would choose the role for this. So this is belongs to the controls contractor. And so in order to manage that, you have the ability to take and edit roles. This is where you can create and add these roles into the system if you needed to do so. And then you have the ability to take and establish what the formal question is going to be on your final report. So whenever you take and you print your final report, this is what's going to be displayed on there. You then get to take and determine what type of data this happens to be, whether it's a Boolean, i.e. yes, no, true, false, pass, fail. You can take and say, I want to collect text, i.e. a serial number, model number, et cetera, et cetera. I want it to be a number. They have to put in a numeric value, 100 amps, 200 amps, et cetera, et cetera. So you have the ability to decide what kind of data is going to be presented or collected in this information. And if there is a subset of information, so let's say, for example, it's text, you don't have a subset of questions. But in this case, Boolean, you get to tell us whether you want it to be displayed as pass, fail, as yes, no, as true, false for this particular item. So as you go through and you enter this information, then you get to configure what type of data gets collected back from that. Here is what you want the technician to see. So this is your formal statement or whatever, the ECM location not subject to excessive temperature. Here for the technician, you're like controller location not subject to excessive temperature. So this is a way for you to be able to take in, present the question to the technician in such a manner as to help explain the information that you're going to be presenting to your customer. So you have a lot of control, again, over those questions and how they're presented. So as you can see, this right here gives you that list of those collections. If you needed to add one, you can come up here and you can add a group. You can add a top level group. You can add an actual group inside of the category that you have selected. You can add a set, you can add a category, and then you can add questions. So this right here gives you that ability to create those questions and answers that you may need. So once you're all said and done and you have added your information in here, if I click on the commissioning ribbon here, I am in edit mode, which is where I would go to take and actually create my question sets for whatever piece of equipment or for whatever system I wanted to take and have available. Once I am ready to take and present this to the technician, I take and turn it off of edit mode, and now it's in data collection mode. If I have multiple pieces of equipment that are exactly the same, I have the ability to clone those question sets to a whole nother sheet if I needed to do so. Now, in our system, you do have the ability to take and rename the tabs to things that actually represent a correct information for what you're actually doing. So as you can see, you can create multiple question sets because typically when you're working on a job, they're going to have a lot of the same type of equipment. So you don't have to take and rebuild those question sets each and every single time. So in this case here, if I want to take and answer a question, I can simply come down here and I can select what it is the answer is. And so as I'm going through, I'm physically just yes, no, NA. I do have the ability to take a note on that item. These are internal notes that are specific to the commissioning agent. They do not get printed out on the report. So this is a way for you to be able to take and explain a situation or to keep track of an issue or something to that, or not keep track of an issue, or keep track of an item that you want to remember, etc. So basically it's a notepad for each individual question, giving you that option to be able to take and do that. You can take and create an issue for any item. So as soon as I take and type in an issue, I could say pipe fittings missing, and then I can go on to the next item. As soon as I do that, that creates an issue for that actual line item. So I go through and I collect all my information inside of here. Once I am said and done and I'm ready to see the report, I can simply come here and say, I want to see what that actual report looks like. I then have the ability to come in here and see my commissioning sheet, and you'll see that questions that are answered will be taken and highlighted and identified inside of here. So green being yes, red being no. And you'll see that this one here had an issue on it. So it listed the actual issue and put the actual issue in there. If you want to include or you want to see what issues are, you always have the ability to come to the commissioning tab and you can take and say, I would like to edit that commissioning or issue, and then you can see specifically what it is. If you want to take and include photos of the item, you can take and include photos of the item as well, and you can take and choose an actual image and then save that, and then that becomes a part of it. You can take and print this actual deficiency report separate from the actual report itself, and then you can send that off to your customer so that they can take and actually make corrections, etc., etc. Now, if you want to include the actual deficiency report in your final report, you can always come in here and you can add an issues placeholder, and then you can save that. And then in our system, you have the ability to place the actual report forms where you want them to be. So you can put it right after the sheet, or you can put it at the front of the sheet. So now then when I preview that item there, then in addition to doing the actual table of contents, it's going to take and generate your issues log directly in front of your question and answer set. Also, to that respect, you do have the ability to take and import other objects. So commissioning agents typically are very wordy and like to take and do a lot of observations, et cetera, et cetera. So you have the ability to bring in Word documents. So this will give you the ability to do your actual observations and to take and actually write those observations out. You can take and even bring in an actual functional performance test in an actual object outside of the system and bring it in and fill that information in directly from here as well. In addition to that, you also have the ability to bring in mechanical plans, and then you can mark those up as well if you wanted to do so. And like I said, a lot of commissioning agents are also going to be tab agents. So if you're doing the commissioning and the tab, you can do both of those in exactly the same format. So that right there gives you a quick overview of some of the commissioning features that we have added into our system. This is 15 minutes. Again, I went really fast. So if you want some additional detail or would like to see some additional functionality or whatever, please reach out to us and let us know. All right, back to you, Jody.
Thank you, Derek. So we're going to be open to questions now.
All right.
Everybody who has any question for Derek, just go ahead and throw them in using the Q&A button. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and use a couple of sample questions. So Derek, is an internet connection required while in tech mode?
No. So we do take and offer both two modes of operation. You can be directly connected to the actual internet and collect the information, or you can be completely isolated to your actual device and work offline and then synchronize the information at some point in time later. Good question.
Perfect. Interesting. And then the next one would be, what is the maximum number of technicians that can access a project?
So I guess the real honest answer is ever how many you pay for. So our actual system is a licensed system. So basically as many technicians as you have a license for can access the project at exactly the same time, can take and answer question sets at exactly the same time, and the system will take and combine all those actual responses into a single final report.
I see. Perfect. Before we move on to the next one, I'm quickly going to go ahead and announce that whoever would like to go ahead and participate for the giveaway, go ahead and type Ameritech using the same Q&A button so that it increases your chance of winning the giveaway. I can see another question that has come in by Kevin. It says, can the program integrate with P6 schedule and any schedule software to update commissioning forecast dates?
So the answer is we're a custom application development firm. So if there is a system that you would like to take and have integration with, then as long as it's physically able to be done, then we could take and actually do that integration. So we have a scheduling application that is completely separate that ties into both the actual commissioning and our TabOps product. But if you have another application that you need an actual connection to, it is theoretically possible for us to do it as long as it's capable to be attached to. Good question.
Wonderful. Spencer has another question and he says, how does the system work in a mobile application?
Yeah, so you basically would log into an actual portal on your phone or on your iPad or on any Windows device or whatever, and then you would open the actual project up, and then you would have access to those questions, and you could collect the items from your phone and then stick it in your back pocket and then go to somewhere else and then pull your phone out. And then you could go back to your office, open up the project in the desktop application view, and then you would have the opportunity to be able to take and make changes, modifications, and print your final report from there.
Perfect. I think this is more like a follow-up question. It says, so to add other contractors, you have to pay for each person that might need to answer questions such as pre-functional forms?
Yeah, so you could have, so our customer container has the ability to put in an unlimited number of contacts on there. So you have the ability to take and establish the collection of people that you want to take and have access to it. So from our web portal, your customer, let's say, for example, the controls guy, he would take and use the actual your domain, and then he would put in his email address, and then his password would be the project number. When he does that, he would then be presented with the actual information to be able to take and make those updates to the actual issues. He could take and respond to them. He could add an image, to say, yep, this has been corrected, et cetera, et cetera. So I hope that answers the question.
Perfect. One of the question is something I think I can take care of, and it
Yeah.
says, what is Ameritech's giveaway? So Ameritech is giving away a gift certificate for TabOps product worth $1,200. So definitely to win that, go ahead and type in Ameritech. While we invite the next question, I see the other one that says, what is the typical response time for technical support? Is it 24/7 help desk?
It is. So the answer is we don't have a dedicated 24/7 help desk, but I can tell you that all the support system is monitored by our IT department and our help desk department, even when they're at home or when they're playing Dungeons and Dragons or whatever they play, et cetera, et cetera. So during normal working hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., then we're available for direct access. Outside of that, we typically provide a 24-hour SLA.
Perfect. Thank you, Derek.
Yeah.
The next one is pricing based on rank of projects?
No. So we don't do pricing per project. So our pricing is you purchase a subscription to use our software. And so our MSRP for our tab reporting software, which covers both tab and commissioning and clean room and facilities, would be $89. And then with that, you get to put as many projects in there as you want to. You get to use the product, as much as you want to. So we are a software as a service company. So we give you access to the software, and then you go use it, and you be you.
Wonderful. I see that I'm just scrolling through the questions, and then I see another one. Are the data set questions provided by the CX team utilizing manufacturers, specification, and or engineer data? Does the system have governance under any association, for example, NFPA, NEC, or ASHRAE?
So we don't. So our question sets are entered by you, or you could take and have an Excel spreadsheet and you could import them or whatever. We give you complete control over your question sets. So we don't necessarily have, we could get them and import them, but we don't necessarily have those type of association questions already in there. Good question.
Perfect. I see that all the questions that we had in the chat has been answered. Just to remind everyone, the winner of the giveaway will be announced at the end of the showcase. So please stay tuned in the end to see who the lucky winner is. And I'm just scrolling again. In the meantime, I can ask you one last question since we have a minute remaining. So Derek, how are deficiencies item handled?
So basically, if you're on an item and you have an issue, you just simply click into the actual issue box, type in your issue, and then go back to the very next observation, question, or whatever. Those issues are automatically created and put into an issues collection that you can then modify and add an image to. You could take and actually add a responsible party to if you needed to, could change a responsible party. You can respond to when it was corrected. If they didn't use the portal, they just sent in and said, yeah, we corrected these items. So you have the ability to take and just do them on the fly. As you're working and you see an issue, you just simply click in, type in your issue, and then keep working, and it'll create those issues for you.